What's going on, everyone? It is Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Today, I wanted to talk about the Wonder Woman by Gail Simone Omnibus. This book came out a couple years ago. I just want to review the general omnibus and the series as well. Really enjoyed the series personally, and the omnibus is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's kind of hard to find now. I've seen on eBay it goes from like $150 to $200, so it can get relatively expensive. Granted, that was in Canadian currency, so it might be a little cheaper in the US or other places in the world. But yeah, it's a book I was very much looking forward to. I really enjoy Gail Simone's work, so knowing that her Wonder Woman run was coming out in omnibus format, one of the only runs by her I hadn't read so far, was very exciting. Real quick, want to mention organicpricebooks.com, our favorite sponsor, the best sponsor. With the promo code THC Ship It Together, if you order 3 or more books, you'll get an extra 5% off your order. Very awesome stuff. Thanks to JP for that. Underneath the dust jacket here, got kind of a plain, boring design, nothing very exciting, just some patterns and the words Wonder Woman by Gail Simone. An overall decently designed omnibus. It's not terrible, could be worse for sure, could have nothing on it, but so this collects the entire Gail Simone run, all written by her, featuring artists such as Aaron Lopresti, Terry Dodson, Bernard Chang. Really stellar lineup of creators on this title, which is great news. Aaron Lopresti's artwork, especially in this series, is absolutely spectacular. I love the work he did on this title. The story is one of those great stories that ties together the beginning and the end. So the entire run really is a holistic storyline, with obviously story arcs in between that, tell their own story, their own story arc. I personally really enjoyed this omnibus, of course, following Diana. She's sort of doing a double agent thing, not a double agent thing here, but she's got an alter ego here as Diana Prince. And just so everyone's aware, at the start of this book, I forget exactly what happened to lead up to this. I think War of the Amazons or something is what it was called, World War III maybe. But essentially, the Amazons have been removed from Themyscira. The only one that remains is Hippolyta. Of course, Wonder Woman is out and about in the world of man, having a good time, trying to stop evil organizations and supervillains day by day while maintaining relationships. She's got a love interest in this series that she's goes on a little bit of a roller coaster ride with. A lot of other DC characters show up in this book as well, which is pretty nice. You get to see some characters pop in here or there. You get to see some Green Lantern action, not necessarily Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner or John Stewart, but Green Lanterns in general. But there's a lot of mythology and history behind Themyscira in this run, which is fun. You get to learn about the original guard of Hippolyta, as it were, a slight twist on the origin of Diana and how that impacted the Amazons and Themyscira in general, and the culture that they established there, sort of a hidden secret origin. And then you get to experience some really cool villains. There's a great villain in here called Genocide. That's a really well put together villain, I'd say, tying in that mythological history of Themyscira, with the things that haunt Wonder Woman as a character, to her soul, to her core. You can see some Aaron Lopresti artwork here. It's so beautiful, so very beautiful. You can see some nods to George Perez. Some nods to Phil Jimenez in this. Really wonderful work by Lopresti. I really enjoyed looking at his artwork throughout this entire run. And the story in general, it got me excited. Not Gail Simone's best work. I think her Batgirl run is more enjoyable. And I also think that Secret Six is just some of the best stuff you'll ever read. But nonetheless, very, very fun book here. You get a lot of variety in the story as well. A lot of Diana dealing with what the truth is, who she is as a character, what her moral standing is, the mistakes she's made in her past, her origin, where she comes from, where she's been, the nature versus nurture aspect of the character. Very, very interesting stuff. There's also a lot of exploration of other gods in this as well. You get to see the Olympians return. You get to see some other gods get a little bit of exposure here as Diana visits them and tries to work with them. I don't want to spoil too much with who some of the villains showing up here. I already mentioned Genocide, but there are some other Wonder Woman familiars that make a return here. A lot of really epic wars, a lot of really epic battles, and a lot of exploration of Themyscira and Diana as a character. I really, really enjoyed that. You saw Queen of Fables there, who was, I think, introduced in JLA by Mark Waid. She made her way into this storyline, which was an interesting tale, to be sure. I really enjoyed the run. Is it something that I'll want to reread in the future? I'm not entirely sure. Comparing it to other Wonder Woman runs, I still definitely prefer the Azzarello run to this. Although I did enjoy this more than the George Perez run back in the day. Nothing against the George Perez run, it's fantastic, but this gripped me more. The storytelling was more modern. The artwork was, arguably on the same level at certain moments in time. Of course, George Perez is a master of detail and storytelling, so that aspect of it you can't take away from the George Perez run. But either way, I think it's great that DC released this omnibus. I think it's going to hold a great place in a lot of people's collections. I kind of wish the design was better on the hardcover itself, but hey, you can't win all the battles. One thing that's great about this book is it introduced me to even more new characters in the DC universe that I wasn't entirely aware of. It also, it kept my interest going in Wonder Woman for sure. There are certain runs you read of a title where you just think like, oh man, this ruined the character for me. This is far from it. This is a great exploration of the character. I personally really enjoyed the bits that explored the history of Themyscira and how Diana affected them and how other Amazons affected it as well. And Gail Simone does a really good job of not necessarily creating a status quo, but introducing new changes to the character while also restabilizing the universe from some of the epic changes that happen in this run. I mean, there are so many things that happen to Diana where you're just shocked that you hadn't heard of these things happening before. But I don't want to spoil too much again. I highly recommend this. If you're a Wonder Woman fan, this is definitely a no-brainer. If you're a Gail Simone fan, I highly recommend checking this out as well. If you're new to Wonder Woman, this may not be the best run to get into the character. There is a lot of background information and a lot of complexities from previous runs and general psychology of the character and characteristics of Wonder Woman that I think knowing beforehand really helps. But I really enjoyed this. A lot of people with Wonder Woman, a lot of creators, they have their own twist on things, on origin. Sometimes they'll completely revamp the origin. It seems to be a main point for a lot of the bigger runs like Greg Rucka's run or Brian Azzarello's run. But what Gail Simone did is essentially honored the original story with a slight twist to it, something happening in parallel to it, as it were, which was really great. I really, really thought that was a well done. And honestly, as the story progressed, I was kind of amazed to see how it all came together near the end. It was really, really nice. We'll get some eye hole action here. Take a look at the binding. Pretty good. I mean, pretty solid binding. You do have to keep the book open for the first 100 or so pages, but that's kind of to be expected with some of the DC Omnis. They're sturdy. We'll see how long this one holds up, if it has the sturdiness to it, but the reading of some of these Omnis is there's a lot to be desired with them, especially if you're having to keep the book open for so long. But I really enjoyed this. I wonder if DC will ever reprint this book. I know they've reprinted a good number of books, but honestly, I don't know if this one will ever get reprinted. Obviously, it's difficult to find now, which means it's sold quite well, but I don't know how much long haul this will have to justify another reprint. At this point, I do hope, though, that we'll see a Gail Simone Secret Six omnibus or a series of them. That would be fantastic. I really, really adore that run. And one thing I guess that, Gail Simone has often said in interviews that she likes to keep her books sexy and exciting. And this book definitely matches up to that. There's a lot of awesome moments in it, great dialogue. You get some near the end of the book, you get these sort of short stories from other annuals and crossover events that Gail Simone wrote, which is really nice. You get some variety in artists there as well, and some nice little tales about Wonder Woman that are relatively enjoyable. In terms of bonus content, you get some variant covers. I think that's it. There may be a bit of script. Yeah, there's just some cover work by Terry Dodson, from pencils to the final cover, things like that, which is not bad. It's really, really cool. So as we wrap up here, going to mention organic price books. We've got 2 codes. They'll show up here along with what you need to do in order to use them at checkout. Let me know down below what you thought of this omnibus. Is it a book you've been looking for yourself to add to your collection? Did you enjoy the book if you read it? Are there any other Wonder Woman runs you look forward to potentially seeing oversized hardcover or omnibus formats for? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Hope everyone's been doing well, staying safe and sound. The hardcover comic is going to keep the content going. I think Matt and I are getting into a flow again, and we appreciate you all being there with the love. Until next time, you stay classy, Internet.